Hello and welcome. This video is part of my YouTube skills development and a first pass in writing, scripting and delivering by using a voice controlled prompter software called PromptSmart Pro. I will not be critiquing the prompter or software. In order to focus on practicing these skills, the video will be a simple listening demonstration between 3 recorders and 4 microphones, with an embedded nostalgic look back at the early 1980s wedding video production days. In this practice video, I do not intend to provide much detailed audio tech data. It's simply a listening test of a few microphones and recorders. Out of the gate, my knowledge of technical audio is limited. I don't know the difference between a decibel and a Tinkerbell, although I guess doorbell theory adds nothing to the understanding of audio. I'm not seeking to provide an in-depth technical specification of the recorders or microphones beyond the basics. The audiophile aspects of these devices is beyond my ability. However, my lack of understanding does not mean I think recording sound is unimportant. In fact, I used to shoot wedding videos in the early 1980s at a semi-professional level. My unique selling point at that time was the quality of the sound relative to other videographers. I always made sure that microphones were placed close to the source of sound to ensure audio fidelity. Affordable microphones available at that time to the new breed of pioneer amateur videographers worked well enough for most scenarios. So for example, the Shennheiser ME80, I will be using that later on in this video, was affordable to wedding photographers who considered sound important enough not to rely on the microphone supplied by the cameras. The ME80 was my go-to microphone for wedding vows and speeches. Wireless microphones in those early days were a completely different breed to the ones available today. They were analog. They used radio frequencies that were less than optimal. As long as you were a short distance away in line of sight and there was no interference, your audio was acceptable. There were of course high-spec microphones available to broadcast and commercial companies with deep pockets. However, wedding videographers had to make do with what was available within a limited budget. Today, however, there are plenty of choices to capture and record sound. From my point of view, the biggest innovations today are the ability to record simultaneously on internal memory, enhanced by error correction capabilities of digital wireless transmission, the combination of local recording of the sound, improved digital transmission and post-computer processing has revolutionized the way in which good audio recording was almost guaranteed. Before I get to a simple listening test of the microphones and recorders, I must point out the room I'm recording in has not been acoustically configured in any way whatsoever. It's just a room with video and tech gear and no dedicated audio dampening material or special arrangements for the acoustics. In fact, the only tweaking I've made is to switch off my noisy network storage array and a loud flip clock behind me. I hope that makes sense. So let's get on with the demonstration of 4 microphones and 3 different recording sources. Before I start, and to be exact, there is a 4th recording device. I am currently recording the audio on this video with the Elgato Wave 3 microphone via OBS on my computer. So I guess the computer sound card is also a recording device. So unless specifically stated on the screen, this will be the default microphone and recorder you will hear throughout the video. The 3 recorders I will be using are the Tentacle, I've got to read it here, the Tentacle Sync Track E. I'll be using the Zoom F2BT with a Shennheiser ME2EW lavalier and the Tascam DR with the prehistoric Shennheiser ME80. The Tascam will be recording 48K 24-bit. The Tentacle and the Zoom will be recording 32-bit floating point. I have absolutely no idea what that means beyond guessing it's similar to technology in the video and photography raw processing domain, in that it captures the data stores it on a file, and by using the appropriate software you can extract the dynamic range of the stored visual data. Similarly, the 32-bit audio stores the digital encoded sounds in a format that can be used to extract a wide dynamic range of audio, far beyond the 16 and 24-bit recordings of previous generations. By using the appropriate software, of course. Access to this enormous dynamic range means you do not have to worry about setting levels. For me, not having to think about and set recording levels is an innovation that significantly reduces the overhead in recording audio. It's basically a switch on and go process. Some photographers could only dream of this technology years ago. I will pause at the end of each section without speech in order to give you some idea of the floor level of the microphone and the recording medium combined. Okay, the microphone you are hearing now and heard before is the Elgato Wave 3 microphone. It's plugged directly into the PC via the USB port on which this video is recorded, as stated before. The video is fed into the computer via the ATM Mini Extreme. I purchased this microphone specifically for the studio a few years ago. I love the fact that it works straight out of the box. I plugged it in and recorded my voice, and without any intervention it produced a clear sound and a low noise floor, and there was no setting up or faffing about. It was literally plug and play. The software that it comes with is also very useful and easy to use. I am aware that this microphone was designed for gamers, and perhaps I have one major criticism of this particular microphone, and that is the Elgato software that comes with it does not and has never supported 2 or more Wave 3 microphones connected to the same PC. And I'm not sure why it should be so. It can't be difficult for Elgato to actually sort this out, but who knows. I also like the low profile arm supports associated with this microphone. As stated before, at the end of each microphone, I will go quiet for a short time in order for you to get an idea of the noise floor. So the quiet bit that follows will be the combination of the Elgato 3 microphone, Wave microphone, and my PC and its audio circuit. Okay, the second example of a microphone and recorder is the trip down memory lane for me. The audio you are now hearing is from the Shennheiser ME80 and the KU3 body into a Tascam DR6D recorder. The ME60 brings back wonderful memories of the early 1980s when I first started recording wedding videos. As stated before, it was my main go-to microphone for recording. The wedding vows and the speeches were very important to me, and I used that microphone for that particular purpose. In those early days, I was able to hardwire the microphone into a small 4-channel mixer, along with 2 or 3 other microphone sources. If hardwiring was not an option, I would use a wireless transmitter and receiver combination to get a feed from the source to the ME80. Whilst it worked most times, on occasions it failed me. This microphone is so old, the batteries to power it, I think no longer exist. So I've had to run this on the 48-volt phantom power on the Tascam recorder. It's a model that's no longer available. However, I think it's possible to pick them up for a bargain on eBay if you're interested in one. I'll go quiet for a short time in order for you to get an idea of the noise and how quiet the floor is. And just remember that will be a combination of the Shennheiser ME80 and the Tascam DR6D. Now, the following two examples of recorders are recent purchases for me. They have been available for several years now, and there are plenty of detailed analysis of these on YouTube. I'm late to the party with these particular technologies, but I'm also excited about the potential. So let's begin with the first combination of a 32-bit floating point recorder. The microphone and the recorder you are now listening to is the Zoom F2BT with a Shennheiser MKE2 lavalier, which was purchased separate from the recorder. The F2BT is a physically small recording device. There is a lever type switch which has an embedded record button. The lever switch is used to select on and off and a hold position. The record button is interlocked in the off and hold position. There are buttons for stopping the recording and playing the last recording and an up and down volume control. There is a 3.5mm screw lockdown TRS port and a 3.5 TRS headphone port. There is a micro SD slot and a USB-C port for transferring the files. It uses 32-bit floating point technology recording and comes with an app that mirrors the physical controls through Bluetooth. There are a few other features such as battery level and how much recording time available, and the option to record in 48K should you desire. I'm still in the learning curve of this type of recording using Adobe Audition as my go-to editor for audio source from this format. The quiet bit that follows will be the combination of the Shennheiser MKE2 lavalier and the Zoom F2BT recorder. The final microphone record combination is the Tentacle Sync Track E with its supplies lavalier microphone. This is indeed a black box. There's very little to see. The manual consists of pointers on the package to each part of the device and a QR code to access the app online. There is one 3.5mm screw lockdown TSR port and a 3.5mm TSR headphone port. The only external control is a sliding switch for power on, power off when you push downwards. The same switch is used for start-stop recording when you push upwards. There is also a micro SD slot and a USB-C port for accessing the files on the micro SD card and charging the internal battery. There's one LED which flashes blue to indicate it's on and gives a steady red when it's recording. Below that is 5 small LEDs which indicates the level of sound being recorded. The quiet bit that now follows will be a combination of the Tentacle Sync Track E with its supplied lavalier microphone. Okay, all I want to do with the microphone and recorder was not being a particularly detailed, exciting, I didn't stop there, so bear with me, let me stop. So now you're going to hear the Tentacle and the supplied lavalier mic recording. Okay, that's all I want to do with microphones and recorders. Whilst it's not been particularly exciting, I hope it's been useful at some level. One of the lessons I've learned from trying to obtain different means of recording is that there is no absolute best out there. Well, there probably is, but it's probably way beyond my budget. I think what you have to do is to choose something that you are comfortable with in terms of budget and functionality. And if you're still here, I thank you for staying to this far into the video. I would also like to do a little reflection on what I've done and just explain why I've done it and what I've done it in more detail. Is it the very first time I've used the prompter? It's actually a very good prompter, this particular prompter, and so I'll put a link in the description to it. It is flaky in parts and prompting takes a lot of practice. This is my first serious practice, and as you can see, it's far beyond perfect, and from what I understand from people out there who've actually been advising on that, and I've looked at lots of videos on how people use them and abuse them. And I think the key is that you've got to keep on practicing in order to become as fluid as possible. I don't have the cognitive skills to be able to spend a long time in front of a camera and be cogent and fluid in my speech. I do a lot of ams and ems, and I think the way forward will be to actually use a prompter. Also, I tend to wander away a bit, and that might add to the length and the boring factor of what I do. But hey, that's me. And so it's going to be a combination of two. What is good about this, apart from its little bit of flakiness, which I'm not very confident with the moment, that may be me and the way you use it, is that it does follow your speech quite well, but it also allows you to deviate. And in order to deviate, it does allow you to be a little freer and a little more relaxed in what you do, rather than the sort of solid presentation of reading the text on the screen, which is something which is very obvious to people. There's a whole range of variables about how far away you are and so on. Hopefully this has been reasonably well for a first attempt. If there are comments there that say that's a lot of pooey, then that's fine, that's okay. I'll have a smile and say you are probably right. So I thank you for staying to the end, and I do wish you well, and I look forward to presenting a video to you fairly soon. And in the meantime, you guys and gals out there, take care.